We got to put the soul and body back together. Well, how do we, so what's the function? What do we do to allow us to bring this back together? And the way of access into the soul region is imagination.
Most of my adult life, I would say I have been to anyone and everyone. I have done meditation, I've done body work, I've done astrology, I've done anything to try to, to try to get an answer, to try to find what my purpose was.
It's been staggering to me, being in Jerry's groups over the years, to see the clinical precision with which he actually brings his understanding to bear on an individual person's life experience in the moment. I've seen people get better from bad illnesses. I've seen people break through psychological barriers that seem to them to be impenetrable. And I've seen humor come out of really distressing situations.
One of the beautiful things that Jerry's able to do is bridge these very abstract ideas of spiritual life into a practical, everyday life.
I had some question about my teaching previous to meeting Jerry, and one of that was I had some sort of a sense of frustration about my relationship with my students. You teacher tell me what to do and I'll do it. In one specific case, there was a student which I was fully aware that she actually censored her own opinion in the attempt to please or follow what I was saying.
I realized I was going outside myself to try to make changes. I wanted the people that I was going to see to give me the answers and tell me what direction to take. So when I met Jerry, that all changed because everything that I had ever learned to study seemed to come together. Because Jerry was able to clarify for me that, you have to go in. But he didn't just tell me I have to go in, he showed me how to do it.
The work that I do here at the New World Foundation is very much based on the external world. And how does that relate to the work I've done with Jerry over the years, which is very much about the internal world. The fact of the matter is that nothing is going to change in the external world till people actually have a transformation internally.
To me, one of the most critical and helpful pieces of the puzzle that Jerry imparts is the emergency state. And really understanding and started to, every day really tune into when you're in an emergency state. And when you start doing that, you realize that much of the time we are in an emergency state. And there's no tigers around trying to get us, right? So that emergency state is costing us because all the different hormones and different kind of chemicals that run through our body are constantly being overtaxed and over-released into the body. And then the body keeps up as much as it possibly can, but at some point it emerges in disease.
The room of creativity exercise was a way in which we would find us individually ourselves in a hallway. We would reach an elevator. We would go down the elevator. We would exit the elevator. We would keep on walking till we find our room. And our room would be recognized because there would be our name written in golden letter on it.
I mean, I was just going from place to place to place to place. And a lot of times they would tell me things, but I wouldn't even listen to them. So I don't know why I went to see them in the first place, because even they tell me, yeah, pursue your acting career, I'd be like, oh yeah, but I'm not really sure. Am I really an actress? Should I really be an actress? I didn't listen to them anyway. And I realized the reason I didn't move forward and take the action was because it was coming from them. It never came from me.
30 years ago, my purpose was very much involved in my anger at the world. And I was angry at injustice. I came from a poor neighborhood in London, and I saw people living very exploited lives and experienced that. So I came, my justice reflex was driven by anger, not by love.
To me, that emergency state, I've shared it with everybody I possibly can because I come from such a corporate, high-stress environment. And lots of my friends are still in there doing all this stressful work. And it's not even stress, it's really distress. And that's one of the things that Jerry, he shows you where the line is.
The prompt indicating that we're supposed to be tools at the center of the room. In my room, which was beautifully lit and all made out of wood, with wood floor, wood wall, wood paneling, and bright wood, kind of a nice light wood. There were no tools. So but the room was so comfortable that I just started rolling on the floor and moving my body and somewhat jumping around. So it was almost like a dance.
One of the first imagery exercises when I went to see Jerry privately that we worked on. What's my purpose? How am I going to express myself? Through what occupation, through what career in this life? How am I going to express myself and incorporate my spirituality in my life? And that became the imagery. It was very clear. It was all very clear. So, and I feel as you use the mental imagery, it actually creates a space and opens up a space when you're doing it for other things to flow in as well.
And I think over 30 years, I would say that equation has shifted pretty dramatically. I don't have a lot of anger. I don't have a vengeful relationship to the people who I think are power hungry and oppressive. And that's a different kind of freedom.
It's not that stress goes away, but distress definitely lessens. And so what I've experienced personally is an immense lessening of distress in my life and a beautiful flowering of health. An intimate thing to share is I've had tons of hair regrowth. So I just went to the hairdresser and she said, you've got new hair everywhere. And that's not surprising to me because I've lowered the distress. And so I'm not poisoning my body constantly.
The room developed at a certain point. There was a moment where big written letters were on the floor, written in a style of the 60 flower child. And the word was love. And the O appeared to be just like a hole in the floor. And there was a slide inside, so I kind of jumped into it and I slid into this underworld that looked like magic. It was an underworld like, Alice in Wonderland, but there were no real human beings. They were just creatures and critters and trees and woods, and I had a great time.
I don't have to go sit in an ashram or sit in my house in a corner on a mat and be there and do this work. This work is meant to be in the world, to be applied in the world and with real world conditions.
In practical terms, it's about knowing that you are not dependent on the belief that you've carried with you, that you can change it in a moment. You can not meet people, to use Lincoln's terms, bad angel to bad angel. You can be driven by your higher, better angels, not the inner terrorists, and that produces freedom.
I really enjoy the work. I think it's very beautiful and profound, but also has lots and lots of dimensions, and you can keep reading and learning and discussing it forever. There's no reason not to.
Wow, that's the result of it, is that creativity for me has to be associated with fun. A sort of fun and entertainment that brings me back to my childhood. So the idea for me was to give to my freshmen not only the tools to do library research, to write college papers, but most of all, to be able to learn this new method, to be able to explore their inner self through imagery, connect with their inner self, and then come forward with whatever creative project they would like to.
This is a never-ending process. It's not like you get it and now you can go home and hold on to it and not share it with anyone and use it to advance it. It's very much just what is. And the act of coming into discussion with a wonderful teacher who is not trying to be an authority over you. One of the beautiful things, I've met many, many teachers in my life, and Some of them were more similar to Jerry in that they preserve your freedom, and some of them were more proprietary in that they wanted you to sort of be owned by them. And Jerry's never, ever done that. In fact, the opposite.
Anything that goes on to cause a distress, I'm grateful for it now, because it gives an opportunity for me to see, how am I responding to this? How am I reacting to this? How am I attaching to this? It gives me an opportunity throughout the day to apply the work. And that's why I'm doing it.
Yeah, people have done what they only what they knew how to do. It's not like they knew how to do it better and decided to do it badly. Blaming them for it is kind of crazy, right? It's like blaming someone for getting polio. You know, they have the disease called wealth, and they don't know who they are without it. And to keep it, they'll hurt other people. But they just don't know who they are without it.
I feel free. I feel free around my family. I feel free around my friends. I feel free around my coworkers, all the people in my life.
He's constantly reminding everyone that they are their own Messiah. They're their own guardian of their own freedom, and they're ultimately their own guide through their own life and their own path. And that's something that's really, I've been able to capture that in my own life, in the sense that now I'm walking very much my own path.
Whatever comes forward, it's good. And it's good because it's ours and it's valid. Doesn't matter if another person next door likes you, or your professor or your friend. It doesn't matter. You feel it, it's yours. You want to throw it away, it's yours. You want to keep it and work with it, it's yours. And it's good. Yeah. You don't have to accept everything. You don't have to take everything. You just take whatever you kind of, as Jerry would say, when you find yourself at the fork, choose. You choose this way or that way. That's okay. You choose life or death. So the idea is that even when my students do the images, sometimes they come and say, "Oh, but I saw this, but I wasn't sure." Stop. That's not your outside world. Your brain, your logic is judging you. There is no judgment here, because otherwise you stifle that possibility of having your inner coming out, your inner self coming out.